Hello world, Shelly here, and today I've got for you another Friday foundation fix so that you can get your fix of foundation reviews in between Foundation Fest series. Today we are going to check out the new CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir, and this is a foundation that is touted as having vitamins and sunscreen and healthy things. So let's pull up their website and see what we've got. I'm counting 14 different shades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes. I'm counting 14 different shades of this foundation. It retails for around $9. I got mine at CVS. It is described as giving you healthy looking skin in a bottle. New Vitalist Healthy Elixir Foundation is infused with vitamins E, B3, B5, plus SPF 20 for correction, protection, and perfection all in one. Say that 10 times fast. This full coverage foundation makes skin glow with a healthy look from inside out. Now, the shade range looks like it's all kind of in the middle. It doesn't go super light, and it also doesn't go super dark, but 14 shades for a drugstore is okay. I just wish it went more to the extremes to address everybody's possible needs. That is about all it says on the CoverGirl website. On the bottle, let's see if we've got any additional information here. Lightweight, full coverage makeup. This formula hydrates and includes a complex of SPF 20 vitamins and an antioxidant. It's oil-free, and I've got this in shade 710 Classic Ivory. So let's give it a try. I will do a demo, show you guys how it applies. We'll see if it applies better with a brush or a sponge. I'll do a daylight check-in. We'll see if it oxidizes, settles into fine lines, how it works on my semi-maturing 42-year-old skin. I will come back at the end of the night and give you guys a final wrap-up. So let's take a look at some swatches. I'm going to compare this to some of the other lighter toned foundations that I've got in the drugstore price range, and then we'll do a demo. Swatch time. So here is today's foundation, the CoverGirl Vitalist Healthy Elixir in shade 710. Now, the second one here is the CoverGirl Outlast All Day Stay Fabulous, and that is in shade 805. So I think if I could get Vitalist in 705, maybe it's a little bit closer to that. It looked yellow on the website, but 805 in the Outlast looks to be pink toned, and maybe I'd have better luck with that, but let's keep going. Number 3 here is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus in Rose Ivory, which is just a teeny bit too pink for me, but it does work. The 4th here is probably my best color match of all of these. This is the Rimmel Lasting Finish in shade 091 Light Ivory. And the last shade is the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Glow in color shade 201. Let's do this. As usual, I'm going to use a brush on one side of my face. This is the Ligure brush. I got this on Amazon. I did a comparison of this to the Artiste brushes. I will link that in the down bar below. And on the other side, I'm going to use my trusty Cat Bitten Beauty Blender, and we will see if there is a preference for one application or the other. I have primed, washed, moisturized, and I primed with the Makeup Forever Step 1. This is their hydrating primer, and I am still recovering from the effects of my trip to Las Vegas. My skin is super dry right now, so we're going to use the hydrating primer for this. So here goes. I'm going to bust into this for the first time. Got my cute little Amazon palette. I'm going to go with 2 pumps. This is in the shade 710, and it looks like from the other CoverGirl foundations, which I only have one, and I haven't tried it yet on my channel. I actually haven't tried it yet at all. It's going to be in a foundation fix or a foundation fest. It's the BB Cream, the Clean Matte, and it looks like this shade is, so anything ending in a 10, so the fair shade of the Clean Matte BB Cream is 510, and this is shade 710. They call this Classic Ivory. They didn't list whether they're fair or light or anything like that on these foundations, but I'm guessing that like most of the drugstore foundations, they stay kind of consistent with that numbering scheme. It did look like there was possibly one shade lighter than this. They didn't have it at my CVS, but on the website it looked like there was, but that looked a little more yellow toned. So I went with this guy, and I'm going to start with 2 pumps as I usually do. There we go. Well, I just went to sniff it and got some on my nose. There's sort of a scent, a sort of clean scent. It's a pretty thick foundation. It's really not dripping much at all. Creamy though, so thick but creamy. And let's dab some of this on one side. Let's start with the brush. This looks a little too dark and a little too yellow right off the bat, but let's give it a go. This is pretty thick. I would say like it's one of those, less is more. You don't need a whole lot of product. At one pass, I'd say we're at medium coverage. It's a little patchy. Like, I'm seeing, like, some areas of barely any coverage here. Some areas where I can't really blend it out under my eye. It looks yellower. Some areas where it seems to have covered pretty well. It just seems a little patchy right now. Let's try the Beauty Blender. I think it applied a little bit nicer with the Beauty Blender. I have not yet used that 2 pumps up, and I would say we're at medium coverage right now, and since this claims to be buildable and claims to go up to full coverage, let's use a little bit more and see if we can get this built up just a little bit. I am going to use the Beauty Blender because I think I like it a little bit better. Okay, so I would say the shade is definitely too dark for me, but the finish is kind of a satin finish. It's not really matte, it's not dewy at all, but it does have, some light reflection. It's not shimmery, it's a nice finish, but in terms of the texture of my skin, it's not doing me any favors. It's not accentuating texture, but I see all of my texture. I can see that my skin is dry right now. I can see my pores. It's not settling into my pores, but I can still see them. It's not blurring them at all. And it might be accentuating my pores around my cheeks just a little bit because I just feel like I see lots of holes in my face, which that's a weird way to describe it. You'll see what I mean. It's covering, you'll see what I mean when I zoom you guys in, but I'm not a huge fan of the texture. So like I can clearly see the beginnings of my crow's feet, and usually I can't see them really until the end of the night when my skin is really dried out and it's sort of accentuating them a little bit. It's not settling into any lines. It's not caking up around my nose, which is pretty impressive. It just looks like there's makeup sitting on my face. I would say we're not quite full coverage. We're probably a high medium. I can still see my sunspots and freckles sort of coming through in this area. I can still see this little broken blood vessel that I've got right there coming through. Same with the one by my nose. And so those are not getting covered up. So I don't think we're at a solid medium. We are not at full coverage, I don't think, at all. So let me zoom you guys in and show you where we're at. I'll go put the rest of my face on and I will be right back. Okay, everything applied just fine over this foundation. I'm not a huge fan of I can still see my pores and the texture of my face, and that's irking me. It's not settling into any lines. It is not yet caking up around my nose, so that's very good. I did set this very lightly with the Laura Geller Baked Balance and Brighten in porcelain in hopes that it would lighten this up a little bit, but I think it is kind of oxidizing by the minute. It's pretty dark on me right now. Let me back up so you can see my chest. It's really dark. It's really dark, you guys. So I think there's oxidation happening. I hope it doesn't get any darker because I don't think my skin tone can handle any darker than this. But I did set it with very lightly with the Laura Geller powder, which I really like as a setting powder because it's a foundation, but it doesn't settle into lines and it just really sets things nicely. The finish is looking to me more matte than I expected from the description. I kind of expected a more, not dewy, but a more lifelike look, and I feel like it looks kind of flat. So that's another reason why I chose the Baked Balance and Brighten, because that powder can kind of bring a little bit of life back into foundations that seem a little flat on me, and it's not really doing the trick today. So a little bit flat, a little bit texturized, way too dark. Everything seemed to blend out okay, so I'm not having trouble in that arena. I will come back in a bit with a daylight check-in. I forgot to show you guys my cell phone, but I finished up my face makeup at about 1:30, so we are going to call the check-in time 1:30 today. I'm going to try to get 9 hours of wear time out of this, but we'll see. It's going to have to be a pretty late night, and I'll come back with daylight check-in in a bit, and I'll see you then. Hello, 4-hour check-in. Natural daylight going on right now. You can see just how dark this is compared to my chest. It's too dark. It is also getting oranger, especially on my forehead and my chin. It is definitely oxidizing. I got a good look in the mirror just now, and it's starting to break down a little bit on my chin, especially where I've got fine lines around my mouth. And it's not settling into lines, but it's breaking apart at the lines, which is accentuating them and making me look a whole lot older than I am. I'm not a fan of the increased visible texture, and I feel like on my nose it's starting to wear off. The coverage is just sort of disappearing. So I cannot say I'm a huge fan of this right now. I will say it feels lightweight. It's not tacky. It's a comfortable foundation to wear, but it looks pretty bad. So we're at about 4 hours right now. I will check back this evening and let you know how we're doing. Okay, I'm back. It is 9:40, so we are just past the 8-hour mark, and it is time to put this foundation out of its misery. So, as a reminder, we've got the Vitalist Healthy Elixir. This was supposed to be full coverage and hydrating with vitamins and SPF, and I don't think it's hydrating. I feel slightly dry, slightly itchy, starting to see the drag lines across my skin at the end of the night, which basically means my skin is drying out, so I do not believe this is hydrating. I think it's slightly drying. I do have dry skin to begin with, but for something that claims to hydrate, you should not dry my skin out. You should at least keep me at the level of hydration I started with. Now, I did have dry skin from my recent travels, but I did moisturize before I put this on, so I don't think it's hydrating. I think it looks kind of gross. So it did oxidize a couple of shades at least, and it's turning orange. So it's orange, especially in the center of my forehead. It's orange around my chin. It's starting to break down. It was breaking down at the 4-hour mark. It's breaking down a little bit more. The breakdown progress has been slower, so it's not a complete disaster yet, but it is starting to, anywhere I've got any kind of fine lines at all, it's separating at those spots. So it's accentuating all of my lines. My texture's been accentuated since the beginning. All of my pores, it's not settling into pores, but I'm seeing, it's like someone took a needle and dotted all over my face. Like I can see the holes of all my pores. And it just looks kind of gross. So let me zoom you guys in. On the upside, it is not settling into my fine lines, it is not settling into my pores, but it is accentuating texture, it is accentuating fine lines, it's oxidizing like crazy. It's not, it looks like, it's supposed to be this healthy glow, this lit from within glow, but it's not dewy. It's like a matte look, but areas of my face, I don't even think they look oily, they just look weird and gross. Like, my forehead is starting to get a sheen. It's not oil, it's just, I'm not sure what these vitamins are doing, what they're making. I don't like this. I think it looks gross. Okay, so grade-wise, I am going to give this a solid D. Here's my rationale. An average foundation to me, average wear would be a 6 to 8 hour foundation. If it does not claim to be long wear, that's what I'd be going for. This started breaking down at the 4-hour mark. Claims to be hydrating. Instead, I find it to be slightly drying on my skin. It oxidizes to the point where I can't really wear this. It's orange and too dark for me. The texture issue is a big deal if you've got anything more in terms of fine lines or texture than I do. I think this is a deal breaker because I've looked textured from the get-go. That just gets worse with time. It has a weird sort of sheen to it by the end of the day. I am not a fan. Really, the only things I think it has going for it, it's lightweight, does not settle into lines, doesn't settle into pores, but again, it does accentuate all of them by the end of the day. So I'm going to go D. I'm not a fan of this one. I don't even think I'm going to try it again. So there you have it. I hope you found this useful. If you would like to see more foundation reviews, give me a thumbs up so I know to keep on making them. Thanks for hanging out and geeking out over makeup with me. I appreciate your time. Let me know what foundations you would like to see in the comments down below, and I will try to get my hands on them. Have yourselves a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and take care of each other. Bye-bye.